Hi, it's Dennis Daly. During the early 1950s, listeners to CBS Radio were treated to nearly 120 episodes of one of the best detective shows of all time. So I'm focusing in on the adventures of Philip Marlowe. Here's another one from CBS.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gut of the prison of the grave. They dressed in red, white, and blue and jumped from an ancient biplane at 3,500 feet. Twice a day, every day, and nobody worried. Until $5 million went along just for the laughs, and death went along for the ride.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Birds on the Wing.
It had been the kind of quiet, workless week that speaks well for human beings and their relations with one another, but doesn't do much for a private detective's bank balance. So when at exactly noon, a telephone call had jerked me out of Chandler's new novel, The Little Sister, and a voice edged with anxiety had dangled $100 worth of negotiable bait my way, I had snapped at it. But then I wondered if I'd done the right thing, because it had been my Mus Hattie Pembroke, guardian of the millionaire, thrill-seeking screwball Paige Pembroke. And now an hour later, I left the sunlight and felt my way into the gloom of the carefully tucked-away Hollywood bar, where she had suggested we meet. When I could see again, I spotted her at a corner table. That the old girl would be the other side of 50 and doing a little too much to disguise it, I had expected. But that she would be drinking her whiskey neat, I hadn't. When I approached her and introduced myself,
Mr. Marlowe,
she started to come right to the point, but didn't quite make it.
Oh, how rude of me. I'm sorry. You're probably dying for a drink. Oh, waiter.
Well, frankly, no, Miss Pembroke. I'm not exactly dying.
No. I know you men in your early afternoon appetite for a friendly drink. There's no harm in it. Matter of fact, I've already had a small drink myself.
No fooling.
Oh, waiter, this gentleman's order, please.
Yes, ma'am. What'll it be, sir?
Scotch and soda, if the lady will join me.
Oh, no, I couldn't.
Really?
Well, all right. Scotch for me too, waiter. Johnny Walker.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Marlowe, let's get down to business. Have you ever been to Oxnard, California?
Uh-huh.
Good, because that's where my nephew is. Also, it's where the Calumet Valley County Fair is being held.
Really?
Whatever that may be. Most important, it's where you can probably find out what kind of trouble Paige is in. You see, the poor boy is...
Down to his last $5 million. No, I'm sorry, Miss Pembroke. I don't think I want the job after all.
Now, one moment. Why not?
Well, frankly, I hope you'll excuse the reference to actual living persons, but your polo-playing, motorboat racing daredevil nephew is a jerk.
I know. Paige Pembroke III is an unmitigated ass, a virile egomaniac, an idiot who's never done an honest day's work in his life. Wait, where is that drink?
Right here, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Now, Mr. Marlowe, sit down and drink your drink. When I referred to my nephew as a poor boy in trouble, I was only trying to avoid saying all this.
Oh.
Your health, sir?
Yes. Well, my health.
Now, your next question. Since I obviously share your sentiments about my nephew, why all this concern over him, correct?
Close.
Right. I want to help Paige Pembroke, Mr. Marlowe, because it's my job. My, shall I say, bread and butter?
All right, say it.
You see, I'm executor of his estate, which my brother, Paige's father, left for him. Well, as such, I get $20,000 a year until Paige is 35, another 6 years. But if Paige should die, disappear, or be committed to any kind of a public institution... Before then, the entire estate goes to charity, and I go find another job.
And specialized jobs like handling $5 million estates are hard to come by these days, huh?
Now, Mr. Marlowe, this letter here is all you have to go on. It was postmarked last night from Oxnard. Read.
Oh. If you want your precious nephew to keep on being healthy, you better come and get him at once. The three of us had a nice little act going here at the Calumet Valley County Fair before he joined us just for laughs. We intend to have a nice little act going after he's gone. One way or another, he's going to go. A friend, huh?
Yeah? What do you think?
Oh, it's 5-1. It's nothing more than a woman spurned. Very young woman, Miss Pembroke. So you might be wasting $100 sending me up there.
Then you'll go. Good.
Yeah, but only because of my bank account.
Mr. Marlowe, there'll be another $100 for you if and when you get all this straightened out. Now, call me at my home, Beverly Hills. Crestview 5412.
4124?
Yes, as soon as you find out what's wrong. Mr. Marlowe.
Yes, Miss Pembroke.
On your way out, signal the waiter for me, will you please?
The ride to Oxnard was a pleasant but frustrating hour-and-a-half drive along the kind of beckoning sun-scrubbed Pacific shoreline that always demands to know why you have to work for a living. The ride through Oxnard to the sprawling county fairgrounds located at a semi-retired airport was a fast 10 minutes. So all in all, it was a little better than 3 o'clock, and there was still a measure of boyish bounce in my stride when I started past the prize cows and plain and fancy leghorns and headed for the Midway, looking for the act Paige Pembroke had joined just for laughs. But it was 4 o'clock, and I had checked a half a dozen death-defying numbers before I was standing in front of a banner Columbus could have used for a sail. It said I was getting warm. In iridescent orange cloth on black, it read, "The Plunging Comets. Taffy Starr and Midge Maynard on wings of death with fearless Eddie Knapp at the controls. The greatest parachute act in the world, admission free. 5 and 9 p.m., north end of the Midway. Come one, come all." Yeah, this had to be it. At the north end of the Midway, just outside of a sagging, weather-peeled hangar, I found the World War I biplane that went with the Plunging Comets being mothered by a mechanic who didn't have grease on his face. And beyond that, on an inside wall of the hangar, were the parachutes used in the act, each on a separate hook, its owner's name carefully block-lettered on a card tacked above. Taffy, Midge, and Eddie. And then, scrawled in black crayon, the name I wanted most of all to see, Paige.
Lost something, mister?
The voice went with the woman and the woman with the act. At the top, there was what used to be called the boyish bob, sticking out of a white aviator's helmet circa 1918. Then a bright red leather jacket open wide at the throat. Black riding breeches, black boots. The color of hair that stuck out and said this one was Taffy.
I asked if you lost something. Have you?
Well, come to think of it, yes. 6'2", eyes are blue, and carries a big, big checkbook. Seen one around?
Maybe. Why? Who are you?
Name's Philip Marlowe, the millionaire's friend. I'm a yacht salesman. Here's my card.
Never mind your card or the very funny joke. Now, what do you really want?
Paige Pembroke before he breaks his neck in your act, or isn't he in it yet?
I don't remember. Now, your point. What is it?
A letter you could have written? A letter that says Paige is in trouble. Where is he?
Goodbye, Mr. Marlowe.
Take it easy, Wings. You wouldn't want to hold that on somebody who's only trying to help Brother Paige, would you? I mean, what reason could you possibly have? Other than $5 million you might want for your very own.
Why, you... I said goodbye.
What's the matter, Taffy? You having problems?
Yeah. This Mr. Yacht Salesman is Emmett Kingston, head of the fair's Midway. And you'll be surprised how popular he is with the concessionaires. Now where you going?
What else? Good day, Miss Taffy, Mr. Kingston. You know, sometimes it works. Lead with your chin, ride with a punch-and watch for your opening. I figured I'd try it just that way. So 10 minutes later, when Emmett Kingston, who was carnival people from checkered vest past ornate watch fob to high-button shoes, and shaped like a bowling pin, left Taffy and started trundling down the Midway, I went after him. When he stopped in front of a lunch wagon, I stopped too. And when he went in, approached a man playing pinball machine who was maybe 5'4", and from where I stood conscious of it, I was still behind him. At the pinball machine, a stranger with a thin face that wore a nervous toothpick was also watching the little man's game.
Oh, boy, Doc, it's peachy.
So when I moved closer to the trio, my face turned away from Kingston. Nobody seemed to mind.
There's a jack of many trades, I see.
What? Oh, Mr. Kingston, how are you, sir?
Fine, Hershey, just fine.
800 more is jackpot, Doc. Come on. You wanted to speak to me, Mr. Kingston?
No, Hershey, nothing important, except about last night.
Last night, sir?
You were working late for a parachute rigger, weren't you, boy? Or am I wrong to consider 2 o'clock in the morning an odd hour for you to be folding these silks?
Hey, Doc, you're going to shoot it, aren't you? Which?
Of course she is. Go on, I'll shoot for the gentleman.
Yes, sir. Hey, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Hey, that's great. Now do that again with your last ball, Doctor. Was there something else, Mr. Kingston?
Yes, Hershey. Why were you near the chutes at that hour? And don't bother denying that you were, because Eddie Knapp saw you there. Well, son?
Well, I was there to double-check the riggers, Mr. Kingston. Hey, look, I'm sick and tired of Midge Maynard complaining about the way I pack her chute. It's a stupid excuse, just trying to cover the fact that she's losing her nerve.
Hey, boys, don't ignore me. Reach out for the jackpot.
Shut up, you, and get going. Rosie, get this stumble bum out of here, will you?
Sure, Mr. Kingston, whatever you say.
Oh, and it's social, huh? All right, Doc, I'm going. Of my own free will, too. But I could stay if I wanted to.
Hershey, you were saying?
Well, just this, Mr. Kingston. Midge Maynard and Taffy Starr fighting because of that Pembroke fellow, or because Eddie Knapp is crazy about Taffy is one thing. But bringing me and my work into it is different.
Meaning?
The parachutes Midge and Taffy use are identical. In the act, both girls jump from the plane wing at the same time. But Midge always gets scared and opens her chute sooner than Taffy. So Taffy is on the ground long before Midge. But this has nothing to do with the way I rigged the chutes, and I think...
All right, Hershey. Nobody's blaming you. Say, you...
Yeah?
You wouldn't be trying to sell another yacht in here, would you?
Just waiting for the finish of an exciting pinball game. Is that all right, or is it time to call Rosie again?
No, it's quite all right. We're leaving. You try for the jackpot. Come on, Hershey. It's about time for the 5 o'clock show.
Oh, yes, Mr. Kingston.
Only 40,000 to go. Oh, it's the first time I ever hit the jackpot.
Oh, that's pretty good, Mr. Marlowe, considering that it wasn't your nickel you won on.
Oh. Now that you mention it, Mr. Pembroke, it wasn't. Which should take care of the introductions,
Yeah.
huh?
And that leaves very little.
But something.
But definitely. Marlowe, you can tell Aunt Hattie from me that at the moment I don't need a watchdog. And when and if I do, I'll go to the nearest city pound for one, not to a private detective agent.
I told myself it was foolish to slam the door on my way out. So I slammed the door on my way out. I started north down the midway toward the open stands and the 5 o'clock sharp performance of the plunging comets. When I got there, the act was already underway with the silver biplane taking off. Eddie Knapp in white at the controls, Taffy in her red jacket and parachute crouched on one wing, Midge Maynard in blue jacket and chute on the other. Then as they slowly gained altitude, High Button Shoes himself took over the PA. They did it up well. By the time the plane was at about 3,000 feet, every pair of eyes was riveted skyward, and an expectant hush thicker than winter fog had settled everywhere.
At 3,500 feet, the plunging comets, Taffy, Starr, and Midge Maynard with fearless Eddie Knapp at the controls. They will not open their parachutes until they are within 500 feet of the ground. Now watch. They should be ready. Yes, Sydney. Yes, there they go.
Knees drawn up, tight arms close into their sides, they jumped. Specks in the sky growing bigger as they fell. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 feet, and then, from Taffy's chute cloth, long and colored, a huge flag rippling in the wind from the end of a long rope. The flag seemed to rise above her as she fell, until the slack was gone, and then suddenly her chute opened, billowing. And then Midge, another flag rippling from the end of a long rope, and then the flag drifting free. Midge's chute not open, Midge plummeting down to the hard ground. The thud slammed home all the way around, kicking hard at every stomach. A minute ago, a girl, very much alive. Our smashed, still body. Someplace near me, a woman cried. There was a bitter, sick, sweet taste in my mouth as I headed for the hangar where I'd first met Taffy. At the moment, I figured the guy who packed the parachutes was a good man to see. But when I got there, the only one present was Emmett Kingston.
Stop right there, boy, and tell me straight and fast just who you are.
Philip Marlowe, Los Angeles private detective, Mr. Kingston.
You can prove that?
Sure. Here. Here's my business card, state license, county permit.
Yeah.
I'm working for Paige Pembroke's aunt. She wants his nibs kept out of trouble.
Which has what to do with your being here now, Marlowe? Here at this hangar, I mean. Close to where the parachutes are kept.
I'm not sure, Kingston. I've only got a hunch. A hunch that Midge Maynard's death was no accident.
Yeah, I got more than that already, Mr. Detective. I've got proof.
Oh?
You see this flag? It's the one that came off Midge's chute. There's a long rope attached to it.
Yeah, I know. I saw the act. Pulls the chute open after the flag's flown a while, right?
Sometimes, but not tonight, Mr. Marlowe. Tonight it couldn't.
Why not? Wasn't it attached to the chute?
It was. One end to the chute release cord, the other to the base of the flag.
What went wrong?
Nothing. Nothing, Mr. Marlowe, except that the long rope on Midge's chute was cut in two by a very sharp knife.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, Sunday nights on CBS. The biggest bargain in show business today. Skelton, Bergen, and Benny without spending a penny. Amos and Andy, Eve Arden, Corliss Archer. 4 A's, 4-star entertainment. The Family Hour with its Hollywood stars and stirring dramas. The Contented Hour with its musical stars in brilliant form. Horace Heidt with his rising stars. 8 great shows heard on most of these same CBS stations every Sunday night, with the 9th, Jack Benny, being heard on them all. Hear them all this Sunday night. Now with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Birds on the Wing.
When Midge Maynard's grim accident turned out to be grimmer murder, I left Kingston and headed for a phone to call my client. Everywhere the chill of the viciously spectacular death lay like a soggy blanket. At the exposition office, I found a phone and finally got through to Hattie Pembroke. She listened up to the word murder and then, between gasps, insisted on coming out to help me. When I hung up, I turned to see that the pilot, Eddie Knapp, had been standing in the door listening. He looked sick.
What's it to you, mister?
What's what to me?
Midge. The long drop she took out there. And Pembroke. I heard you say Pembroke. What do you got to do with him?
Just a minute, fella. I'm not sure it's any of your business.
It's my business, all right. The kid gave me a big grin up there just before she jumped. And I watched her fall every inch of the way.
So did everybody else. Look, I know how you feel,
You don't have any idea how I feel. And don't try to kid me. That mob out there loved it. That's the only reason they come to watch, the hypocritical buzzards. You got a finger in this pie, an angle all your own. I'm going to find out what it is.
Take it easy, Knapp. You're talking yourself into something real silly.
Yeah? Listen, ever since that louse Pembroke showed up here, there's been trouble brewing. Now Midge is dead. She was a friend of mine. Best friend I had.
Aren't you pulling a switch, Buster? What happened to your red-hot passion for Taffy Star?
Oh, you nosy...
Come here, you jerk! Look at my arm! Buzz boy, and unless you want to take off with a busted wing, stand still. Now get this, Eddie. I've got no beef with you yet. In fact, we might even be on the same team because I want Pembroke out of here just as much as you do. So hold off.
Who are you?
Private detective named Marlowe. I got news for you. Midge fell because her chute was fixed. She was murdered. You heard me.
Where's Hershey? He packed the chutes. Have you talked to him?
No, I can't find him.
You mean he's run away? With that filthy half-pint psycho?
Listen, for your own sake, Eddie, leave Hershey to me and the police. You know where he's staying?
No, I don't. In town someplace.
Well, didn't he ever tell you where? Come on, think, Eddie.
Well, yeah, he told me he had a buddy in town. Some guy who runs a pool hall. I didn't pay much attention.
That's enough for a starter. I'll find him. And keep a lid on your temper, Eddie. I'll see you. As I crossed the grounds to my car, I looked back once at Eddie Knapp standing in the office door, rubbing the shoulder I twisted for him. I hoped he'd stay out of circulation until I got back because the barnstorming flyer was charged up like a high-tension wire. The way he felt there'd be sparks no matter who he touched. Taffy, Pembroke, or Lyle Hershey. But my immediate worry was the location of the lambing parachute packer, so I drove into Oxnard, found a phone booth, and went through the book calling pool parlors. I finally hit pay dirt at a joint called Pindy's.
It's 212 B Street, upstairs in the back.
212 B Street was an apartment, second floor rear over a boarded-up fish market. I went up the stairs to the half-open door with my hand around my .38. But the shooting part was all over. Because Lyle Hershey was crumpled in the bedroom door with the slovenly abandon that violent death always has. From the look of the puddle of blood under him, he'd been that way over an hour. I started backing out, just as someone else started up the stairs. So I flattened myself against the wall beside the kitchen door and waited.
Lyle, it's Taffy.
Come on in. Take a good look, Taffy.
What are you doing in here? Where's Lyle?
It's a great act, baby. Holds water like a duck's back.
What do you mean?
That wherever there's murder, there's also motive, and you've got it, Taffy. Lots of it.
Me? What are you talking about?
Maybe he's dead, and maybe you killed him. Keep him quiet, because maybe he fouled up Midge Maynard's parachute on your orders. Consequently, he had you over a barrel.
On my orders? You're out of your mind.
And maybe you had to get Midge out of the way because you objected to Paige Pembroke and his idle millions honing into the act. Objected so strenuously that she was doing something about it, such as sending threats to his Aunt Hattie. Let's face it, baby, it fits.
But not tight enough, Marlowe.
Oh, Paige, darling.
Taffy, I got worried when you didn't come back to the car, so I decided... Don't move, Marlowe, or I'll shoot.
Pembroke, if you got any sense in that gold-plated skull of yours...
Show it, Marlowe. I stood outside and listened to enough of your crackpot theories to know you're nuts. I don't need any advice from you at this point, so keep your long nose out of my business.
Now listen, you harebrained dope.
You just stand there like a good little boy. Taffy and I are leaving, and don't try to follow too fast. Go on, Taffy, outside. I'll follow you. So long, detective.
I let him go. Spent 20 useless minutes searching the almost bare apartment for any kind of an answer, but came up with nothing. Hershey's body at my feet convinced me there was nothing in Oxnard for Marlowe. And the sooner I dumped the whole mess into the laps of local law and order, the better. So I kicked out the 10-cent lock on the flimsy door and went down the stairs. I cut through an alley to the street and started across to where my car was parked. And I was bracketed by a pair of headlights on a sleek Nash convertible.
Hey there, Marlowe! Marlowe, what you doing here, boy?
Nothing. Even that's an exaggeration, Kingston. What about you? I thought you had a show tonight.
I certainly do, but the police don't give a hoot about that, boy.
No.
They insisted that I bring the rest of Midge Maynard's parachute harness in for investigation. Get in, come along, will you, son? Maybe you can help me out.
Okay. I want to see the police myself. Oh, is this Midge's stuff here?
That's it. Don't mind holding it, do you?
Oh.
You know, this wasted time, boy. All they have to do is pick up Lyle Hershey and they'll get all the answers.
They'll have to pick him up, all right. They'll give him problems, not answers, Mr. Kingston. Lyle Hershey's dead. He was murdered.
You say Lyle?
Yeah. I just came from his place. Somebody shot him.
Great suffering sardines. Well, that means there's another killer. And still on the loose. I knew I shouldn't let him do it.
Let who do what?
Why, Taffy's going to give an air performance tonight. They pulled me in at the grounds just as I was leaving and told me that Pembroke fella's going up Midge's place.
You mean those two showed up out there? It doesn't make sense.
Well, Pembroke's got plenty of nerve in his own chute, so I guess...
Shoot?
Yeah, he's...
Wait a minute, Kingston. Stop under that streetlight, will you?
Why, What is it, Marlowe? What are you looking at?
Sure. Red smudges on the inside of these straps. There's something wrong here, Kingston, but I can't quite peg it. Say, Kingston, what time is that performance going to start?
Why, 9 o'clock.
5 minutes and 5 miles to go. Come on, boy, turn the heap around and romp on it. We got a killer to catch. Swing out in front of the hangar, Kingston. Hurry.
It's empty. They're already out on the runway.
Yeah, there's one parachute still on the rack.
Why, that's Eddie Knapp's chute, and he never goes up without it. So who's at the controls of that plane out there?
I don't even have to guess. It's Eddie Knapp, all right, but he figures a suicide doesn't need a chute. Pile out, Kingston. It's as far as you go. I'm taking over from here.
What are you talking
Come on, move. Get out. They're turning around now. Yeah, he's going to make us run back this way. So long, Kingston. Here he comes.
What are you doing? Come back!
I waited until there was no possible chance for a miss. And I headed the car straight into the path of the plane, pulled the hand throttle out as far as it would go, and jumped. From there on, it was easy. The plane sort of stumbled over the car, rolled up on its nose, and stayed there. Quick work by the volunteer crash crew took care of that. A box of bandages took care of the collection of minor cuts and bruises all around, and the Oxnard police took care of Eddie Knapp. Everything had come out more or less even, except my client, Hattie Pembroke. She showed up at the finish line slightly on the bias, which no doubt was her normal late evening state. Also, she was as full of questions as an insurance adjuster.
Now, young man, I paid you a substantial sum of money for this day's work, and therefore, as your employer, I'm certainly entitled to a comprehensive report of the entire business. And I insist...
All right, Hattie, whoa. I'll run through it once more, and that's all. Now, look, first, the threatening letter you got was written by Midge Maynard because she was afraid Paige was going to break up the act. You get it? But the real screwball was Eddie Knapp. He was crazy about Taffy Star and insanely jealous when your nephew and his money showed up. Knapp decided if he couldn't have Taffy, nobody else would, because he'd kill her.
And yet Midge Maynard was the one who got killed.
You catch on quick. Knapp killed Hershey because he was afraid Hershey had seen him tampering with the chutes. You get that?
No.
Oh.
On second thought, Marlowe, maybe you better submit a written report tomorrow.
Yeah, with adding machine enclosed. Now, look, Hattie, it's not that...
Hey, Marlowe, Paige and I want to apologize. We treated you pretty badly tonight, and, well, you did save our lives.
Business is business.
Yeah, that's right. He was hired to do a job, dear, and he did it. I'm only interested in one thing, Marlowe. How'd you know it was Eddie Knapp?
Well, nobody had a really good motive for killing both Midge and Hershey, so when I realized the chutes had been switched, I knew Midge's murder was a mistake. And there it was easy.
How'd you find that out, Marlowe?
From red smudges on the inside of the harness shoulder straps. Red that had to come from your leather jacket there, Taffy. The one Midge always wore was blue.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Well, Hattie, write the detective a check so he can go.
That's the best idea you've had to date, Pembroke. And include on it the price of a repair job on Kingston's car, a new tweed suit to replace this one that lost knees and elbow on the runway when I jumped. And also, don't forget the bonus you promised for keeping your job alive, Hattie.
Oh, just a minute, Marlowe.
As for you, Pembroke, the only reason I'm not filing an assault and battery charge against you is that you've got great grounds for a countersuit.
What do you mean?
This!
Bless you, my boy.
Mail me the check. Good night. Well, a few informal cups of coffee at the Oxnard Police Headquarters cut through most of the paperwork. But at that, it was after 2 when I finally picked up my car and drove the inland highway for home, past dark, quiet farms, where down-to-earth people made down-to-earth livings and slept at night. Yeah, the countryside was full of them. So it was with a real sigh of relief that I finally opened the door to my apartment and looked forward to some peace and quiet.
Hello, Mr. Marlowe.
Aren't you Gracie Allen?
Yes.
Well, how'd you get into my apartment?
Well, you see this key?
Yeah.
Well, it didn't fit, so I opened the door and walked in.
Yeah, well, that figures. What can I do for you?
Mr. Marlowe, you're a famous detective, and I think you're just the man to handle a very important case for me.
Oh, really? Well, I'd be very happy to, Gracie. What's your problem?
Well, you see, Mr. Marlowe, our sponsor won't let my husband, Sugar Throat Burns, sing on our program.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to investigate the possibilities of another radio program George can sing on.
Mm-hmm.
And then our sponsor will realize he's wonderful and let him sing on our show.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry, Gracie, and the next time you pass my house, I'll be very grateful.
Oh, thank you. And I'll be looking for you, too. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, bringing you Raymond Chandler's most famous character, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Robert Mitchell and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Lois Corbett, Rita Lynn, Don Randolph, Junius Matthews, Jack Moyles, and Jimmy Eagles. The special music is composed and conducted by Richard Arant. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This next episode of Philip Marlowe is one of my favorites, but it may sound a little bit as if it's coming through a tin can. And let me explain why that happens. Many times, the only radio shows we can find in the archives from the golden days of radio, or even during the time of Philip Marlowe, when there was magnetic recording tape, the only shows we can find sound absolutely wretched. So when you clean them up, often you have to take out a lot of hiss. And when that happens, the shows sound a little adenoidal. So I wanted you to know in advance about this next one.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gutter, the prison, or the grave. This time it started with a kid hawking papers on Hollywood Boulevard, and moved from there to a house full of hate on a quiet street, a blonde liar on ice skates, and a corpse in a burned-out shack. And it all wound up right where it really began, in the heart of the kid on the corner.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Kid on the Corner.
After a day jam full of heat waves in December, actresses who passed mascara and long A's off as talent, and producers with glossy convertibles and holes in their shoes, the world looked as phony as a $7 bill. And when I finally closed my office, stepped out onto Hollywood Boulevard into the glare from miles of sheet iron Christmas trees on lamppost trunks, and watched a loudspeaker Santa Claus with neon reindeer trundle by in a cloud of artificial snow, I'd have gladly traded all of Hollywood, California for one quiet Vermont hillside and thrown my license in to boot. All of which convinced me that what Marlowe needed most was a martini in his own apartment, a good book, and a night's sleep in that order. So I started home after them, but only got as far as the middle of the street.
Hey, Mr. Marlowe, wait up!
It was the kid who sold papers on the corner.
Mr. Marlowe, can you spare a minute? I've got to talk to you.
Okay, Tommy. Let's get out of the street first, huh? I'm not so good at dodging fenders.
Oh, yeah, sure.
What's on your mind, kid?
It's about my Uncle Bert. Bert Larson. He's gone, Mr. Marlowe.
What about your family, Tommy? Don't they know where he is?
Oh, I don't have no family. I've been living with Uncle Bert in a flat down in Van Ness. Hey, if you haven't had your dinner yet, maybe you'd eat with me in the cafeteria, huh? It's real important to me, Mr. Marlowe.
Anything that's important to you, kid, is important to me. Let's go in.
Oh, swell. I should have known something was wrong when I heard him walking around. Late last night, you know? He said he was after a drink of water, but he's got those metal plates, kind of like caps on his shoes, so I knew he was all dressed, only I was too sleepy to think anything about it then.
Maybe he just got an early start and he's been busy today, huh?
No, it's not like that, Mr. Marlowe. Something's wrong.
Well, what'll you have, gentlemen? The pork's nice tonight.
Stew's the best deal for the money, Mr. Marlowe.
Oh.
I'll have the stew, please.
Yeah, you better make it two, miss.
Okay, a couple of stews coming up.
See, when I got up this morning, I found this envelope on the dresser. There was $200 inside, and this was written on the front.
Let's see it. Dear Tommy, must leave town on business. I'll send more money soon. Be a good kid and take care of yourself, Uncle Bert. I see what you mean.
Yeah. I spent all day trying to find out where he went. I checked everything but the airport. I know he wouldn't take a plane. He gets dizzy just standing on a curb. No luck, though. Milk, Mr. Marlowe?
No, I'll have coffee, Tommy. I feel rugged. Hey, there's a table over in the corner. Come on, huh?
Okay. What really makes it fishy is that Uncle Bert's got no out-of-town business. Besides, he's never been out in front more than $20 in his life. I can't figure it.
Well, now, look, Tommy, if you're really worried, you don't want me, you ought to go to the police right away.
Cops?
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Why not?
Well, Uncle Bert's been awful good to me, but, well, I guess he's really kind of a bum. You see, he's a gambler, Mr. Marlowe, a bookie.
Yeah.
Just a harmless small timer, sure, but I'd get him in an awful jam if I called the cops. Will you try to find him for me? I got dough. I'll pay you whatever you charge.
Don't worry about the money, Tommy.
I got one lead for you. This name here in the back of the envelope, see?
Yeah. Lester Carney. And the number 3004.5. Does that mean anything to you, kid?
No. I'd have looked that guy up my cell phone. You know how far a kid could get.
Sure.
Gee, Mr. Marlowe, I'm sure my uncle didn't leave town. It's something else. It's gotta be. He's in some kind of trouble.
Now, Tommy, you know that he might be on the wrong end of it, don't you?
Yeah. Well, if that's right, I want to find it out fast, Mr. Marlowe. Here's a picture of him.
Mm-hmm. Scared, son?
Me scared? Nah. Not for myself, anyway. Yeah, I guess I am, kinda.
Well, okay, Tommy, eat your dinner and then get back to work. I'll see what I can find out, huh? I patted my new client on the shoulder and left the cafeteria. But I was sure of one thing. The dry rot that gets to most people in Hollywood wouldn't touch a hard-working kid named Tommy Lawson. Who was already smarter at 15 than a lot of citizens get at 50. I stopped in a phone booth and found the name Lester Carney listed in the book at 8110 Cherokee Street. That turned out to be an oversized California Spanish model that had taken lots of old-fashioned wealth to build. Halfway up the curving walk to the already open front door, I heard the voices.
All right, Susan, if that's the way you feel, I don't want you in this house another night.
Well, I'm sorry, Mom, but I don't think that spying and telling lies are a part of a maid's duties, so I'm leaving. But I would like to know about my back salary first.
You'll get your back salary, my girl. Don't worry about that. Now get out.
Very well, Mom. Excuse me, sir.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, what do you want?
I'm looking for Mr. Lester Carney. Is he in?
He is not.
Oh, would you mind telling me where I can locate him?
I don't know. And I don't care anymore.
Just a minute. Is he with Bert Larson, maybe?
I don't know what you're talking about. Now get out of here.
And good night to you, too, Mrs. Carney. Hey, Susan. Just a minute, baby.
And who are you calling baby?
Well, I call anybody baby when they're as cute as you are.
You're not so bad yourself.
Well, now that that's established, let's get friendly.
I'm always friendly.
But they're not, huh?
Oh, there's going to be trouble in the house.
Oh?
Well, good night, Mr.
Now, wait a minute. I'll give you a lift in the car. Let me have your bag.
Well, all right. Thank you.
Ah. Say, what about that trouble you spoke of, Susan? What did you mean?
It's Mrs. Carter. Julia. She isn't as pretty as she used to be. She's turned a Lancet. She's driven that poor husband of hers out of his mind. He almost never comes home nowadays. Practically lives in his studio.
Studio? What kind?
Photography. It's way up in the Hollywood Hills someplace.
Susan, did you ever hear either of them mention a Bert Lawson?
No. Why, who's he?
A gambler. I gather from Julia that Connie's blowing the family fortune, huh?
Sure he is. And that's not all she's driven him to.
No. What else?
What do you think? Another woman, of course.
Oh.
An ice skater named Carol King at the Igloo. That's that nightclub with the skating show.
Yeah, I've been there. Does Mrs. Connie know?
Oh, she suspects. That's why she wanted me to spy on him. But I wouldn't because I don't blame him one bit. Not with Julia being like she is.
Yeah, maybe you're right, Susan. But then again, maybe you've got your cause and effect backward, huh?
Yes? Well, I don't know anything about that. But that poor man's been driven so crazy, he's threatened to kill her. Well, here's what I get out. And stay out.
I dropped Susan off at the car stop and headed out Sunset Boulevard for Westwood in a club called the Igloo, which looked more like a down-at-the-heel Taj Mahal than an Eskimo's bedroom. Inside, a line of fast-moving ostrich plumes with rye-crisp waistlines and imitation sable zipped over a short sheet of tinted ice toward the climax of chorus numbers, while I bluffed my way backstage and intimidated the call boy into sending over one Carol King. She turned out to be left end in the lineup out front, so I sat down on a cold trunk and waited until the curtain fell. And I got up to greet an athletic blonde with more than healthy face, who sidled dubiously toward me, ice skates and all, and I introduced myself and told her I was looking for Bert Lawson.
Why are you looking for Bert Lawson, Marlowe?
Well, because people say he's disappeared. No, I know he's a bookie. You don't have to protect him on that score, and I'm no cop. Just want to know where he's gone.
Okay. I hear he made a real killing yesterday, the first one in his life.
Oh.
I understand he's leaving town to retire.
Nothing tangible to base it on, but as I left the Igloo and drove back to Hollywood, for some reason, I kept thinking that Tommy Lawson was right, that his uncle was still in town and in some kind of trouble. And I was sure that at least half of Carol King's story had been lies, but why, I couldn't figure. And another idea hit me, and hit me hard. I turned onto Cherokee again and drove up to Connie's house at 8110 Park and went in. There, the vague hunch began to shape up like grim fact because the front door was wide open and spilling a pale glow from the one light in the house, the hall lamp. I saw the note propped under the lamp even before I went in. I left it where it was. It said, "To whom it may concern. I have paid all my just debts, my affairs are in order, and since life has been made intolerable for me, I have destroyed that which made it so, my wife, Julia. Now there's nothing left. I shall dispose of myself, nor am I sorry, Lester Connell." I looked up beyond the note and saw her lying at the edge of the circle of light from the lamp. Julia had been strangled by a silk cord that was still embedded in her swollen throat. I turned and started for the phone.
Stay where you are.
Oh. So I got here a little too late, huh? Or is it too soon?
My wife's dead, so what's the difference? You better stand still because I'll shoot fast. Who are you and what are you doing here?
Name's Marlowe, and I assume you're Connie. All right, I'm a private detective trying to find Bert Lawson. In the process, I got mixed up in your little fiasco from one end to the other.
Bert Larson. Just a cheap bookmaker. He's one of the very few people who ever gave me a fair break.
Where is he, Connie? Do you know?
No. Does it matter? Too bad you bunted in here just now. The man's going to do what I've decided to do. It's a most personal, private affair.
It's your party. But maybe you better think it all over again, huh?
I've already thought it over. Thoroughly. Turn around and walk through that door to the kitchen. Go on.
Sure.
All right, stop there. Now, open that door on your right.
This one?
Yes. Years ago, that cellar was filled with the best wines the world had to offer.
What happened? You pulled too many corks?
Find out for yourself, Marlowe. Oh!
Lester Carney, bouncing the private detective down the cellar stairs, had been rough on both the inner and outer man, and my jaw was bleeding where his heavy signet ring had connected. And I was back on my feet through the dusty jumble of barrels and boxes over to a grimy side window and finally out onto the street. I found neither confessed killer nor car any place in sight. which made my next step a return trip into the house and a call to Lieutenant Matthews.
All right, Marlowe. From your client to Julia Carney to that ice skater and back to Julia Carney. Now, Dad, I follow, but the why I don't. Where's the connection between the newsboy's uncle and this guy you say is on the way out?
Lester Carney, Matthews, I don't know.
You don't know? You're not saying which, Phil.
Well, maybe it's a little of each. Now, look, Lieutenant, Just a second.
What is it, Marlowe?
Hold the wire, will you, Matthews?
Okay, but make it snappy, will you, Phil? Killer on the loose isn't such a good idea, even if he's promised to knock himself off. Might decide to take somebody else along,
3,004.5 North Westmore. 3,004.5.
I can't hear you, Phil. What?
Oh, a piece of paper, Matthews, in the dead woman's hand.
Oh, now you're finding
It's got an address on it. The same address that was on the back of the envelope Tommy's uncle left for him.
Well, this address could be the connection I asked you about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hook between Uncle Bert and the Connies. Well, we'll get right over there. We'll
Matthews, wait a minute. Let me try it alone first, will you? I think it'll play better that way.
And keep the kid's uncle out of the police lineup that way. Marlowe, I can't.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Matthews, please. I'm thinking of the kid.
Yeah, well, Okay.
Attaboy.
Just don't make it too long till I hear from you again. Goodbye.
I knew that the 3,000 block on North Rossmore wasn't even close to the Hollywood Hills, which meant that the address couldn't be the dilettante photographer studio that the Carney's ex-maid had described. And 20 minutes later, when I was out of my car and standing next to the doorbell marked 3,004.5, I knew something else, because the name underneath was Carol King. A light showed from someplace deep inside, and my leaning on the doorbell only proved that it worked. There was no answer at 3,004.5, but 3,004, the other twin to the duplex, was different. It featured a sweet old lady who shattered the illusion the second she opened her mouth.
I suppose you're just another one of that King girl's friends, eh?
Why, do I look the type, Granny?
There is no type, young man. Miss Carol King entertains all sorts.
Oh, which might include a recent someone who's gray at the temples, short, and maybe talks a lot about the ponies?
Huh? How would I know what a guest talk about?
Oh, you gotta be kidding. Look, honey, a woman's been murdered tonight.
Murdered? I knew it. I knew it.
No,
she
wait a
had
minute.
to come to a bad
Wait a
end.
minute,
Well,
Granny.
only yesterday I
Whoa,
told Henry
hold
that if that...
Hold it, Granny. Carol is not the one who's dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
Sticks out all over you. Now, look, what about that man?
Well, he was here about 30 minutes ago, just the two of them, drinking that hard liquor like it was water and making enough noise to raise the devil himself. A farewell party, they called it.
Oh, did you see him leave?
No. Henry made me come in then, and
Yeah, I know what you mean. You missed it. Okay, Granny, now look, how do we get in here without kicking the door down? Come on, sweetheart, it's important. There may be a body inside.
A body? Oh, well, how awful. Here. Over here, behind this ledge.
That's better.
She always kept a spare key. Yes, here it is. But, you do it. I'm too shaky.
You shouldn't be. Just think of tomorrow, Granny, and the news you'll have for one and all.
The light switches is on your right there.
Uh-huh.
See anything?
No. How many rooms here?
Bedroom, kitchen, and bath, aside from this. Anything in there?
No.
You suspect foul play, all right, don't you?
The foulest. Don't let it worry you, because... Hey, those photos there on the wall. They're taken from Mulholland Drive, aren't they? One by day, one by night, both in the same spot, the Hollywood Hills?
Sure. That's where he has a studio, that Lester fella.
Yeah, that Lester fella. Granny, do you know where it is? I mean, Mulholland Drive and where? You know, that street runs for miles along the top of the mountain.
Well, of course I do. Was born and raised here in Los Angeles.
Granny, where? Mulholland and where?
Mulholland, Laurel Canyon Boulevard, just south of the intersection.
Thank you, sweetheart, and goodbye.
Oh, wait, one moment now, if you please.
What's the matter?
What's your name, officer? I know my rights. Your name and your division.
Granny, dear, I'm no cop.
Huh?
I said I'm no cop.
Oh, not a police officer. Well, then who are you?
Just a passerby. A stranger in the night. Good night, Granny. All the way from Rossmore to Sunset, then west to Laurel Canyon Boulevard, I kept worrying about Tommy Lawson and the uncle who, from where I stood, needed at least worrying about no matter which way things played. But when I was on the strip of macadam that twisted its way upward toward Mulholland Drive like a snake writhing from a long, long bellyache, I forgot about both client and relatives alike. Because at the top and a little to the south, where Granny had said it would be, was Lester Carney's studio, all right, but burned to the ground.
Well, you select my way too much, sure. Go faster, Chief.
Yeah, within 20 minutes on this one. Hey, mister, where are you going? Some of that metal stuff's still pretty hot. Who are you, with the law?
No, Chief. I'm a private detective named Marlowe. I was wondering if Lester Carney was caught in there. He owned this shack.
Yeah, I know. Was he a friend of yours?
No, it's strictly business. He's wanted for murder.
Yeah, he was wanted for murder, Phil. He was burned to a crisp in there. Hello, Casey.
Hello, Matthews. Well, what's your guess? He started on purpose?
No, suicides hardly ever burn themselves to death. No. He probably took some sleeping pills or poison and then a cigarette he left going did this, you know. Hey, by the way, Phil, you saw Carney tonight. You think you might recognize him?
Might.
Yeah, he's over there. There isn't much. See you, Casey.
Right, Matthews. Hey, Garcia.
Hey, you tied Carney and this fire together kind of fast, didn't you, Lieutenant? I just found out about this place.
Yeah, but you work alone, Marlowe. I got help.
Oh.
There it is. All that's left. See anything?
Yeah, that ring. I noticed it earlier tonight.
And the watch?
No, I'm not sure. I don't remember what kind of... Hey, Matthews.
What is it? What are you staring at, Phil?
Come on over here. Come on. See this little piece of metal?
Yeah.
I think it's...
Watch, Phil. You know, fire makes things hot.
Yeah. Hot things burn and...
Yeah. Marlowe, what is it?
It's an idea.
Yeah, like what?
Like this isn't suicide after all, like it's murder, Matthews. Come on, we gotta get to our phone quick.
Los Angeles International Airport, Central Dispatcher's Office.
Look, miss, this is important. I'm calling for Detective Lieutenant Matthews at police headquarters. What passenger flights have left in the last half hour?
Passenger flight?
Yeah.
Well, there have been two, sir. One to Dallas, Texas, the other to Chicago. Both American Airlines.
Nothing out of the country?
Marlowe, what are you getting?
Will you wait a minute,
No,
Matthews?
sir. However, there is a flight scheduled to leave at 10:10.
Uh-huh.
That's just 5 minutes from now. That's going to Manila. Mercury Airways. Shall I connect you?
Yeah, hurry, will you, please?
Yes,
Hey, Matthews,
sir.
this may be it.
I'm glad for you.
Mercury Airways. Central Dispatcher's Office, Mercury. There's a call from the police here for you. Go ahead, sir.
Look, your 10:10 flight from Manila, is it going out on schedule?
Yes, sir. The plane's standing by for the top signal now.
Oh, then tell me this. Is there a passenger aboard named Bert Larson?
Larson?
One moment,
Killer,
please, sir.
Hurry, will you?
This Larson killed Lester Carney. Then he's
Will you
the
hold
one
it, Matthews?
Yes, sir. We have a Bert Larson aboard.
Oh, good. Keep him there and don't let that plane get up in the air. Do you hear? The man's wanted for murder. But don't do anything else either. Just let him sit and wait for us. You got that?
Yes, sir. I understand.
Fine. We'll be there as soon as we can. Goodbye. Come on, Matthews. It's your show from here on in. Sirens included.
Okay, Marlowe, okay, enough. So we're on our way to the airport. We're going to catch her, kill everything is great. But first, how do things add up? Mooney, take it easy. 5 seconds more or less, never yet turn the trick.
Okay, Lieutenant.
Were you saying something, Matthews?
Yeah, I'm saying I don't know which end is up, Phil. Look, Lester Carney killed his wife, right?
Right.
Why?
Because he wanted her out of the way so that he and a cheap little monster named Carol King can live happily ever after.
Well, divorce wouldn't do that for him, huh? No, Mooney!
No, I don't think so. Probably because Julia Carney had a real tight grip on the purse strings.
Oh.
Maybe something more, like his not very nice pass for a guest.
Yeah, but the purse strings, the money, that's where Bert Larson figures in, huh? A booked you with a claim.
No, blackmail. Now, I figure Bert Larson knew about Carney and Carol King. He must have stopped by once to pick up or pay off a bet at the right time.
Yeah, and from there, what?
And from there, the team of Carol and Lester killed Lester's wife.
Yeah, which we've covered.
But not in detail. Now, listen. You see, after the murder, Lester planned to kill himself.
Yeah.
Or at least make it look like that.
Yeah.
A suicide note, the Mulholland studio burned down, the works.
Yeah, and the body we found. Phil,
That's an added attraction. Bert Larson included in the last minute.
What? The wife and then the blackmailer?
Ah, you're getting it. Drugged while drinking at Carol's, where he thought that he was going to get paid off in money, then up to Mulholland Drive, ring watch, and flames added.
Oh, and then out here at the airport, headed for Manila.
Lester Carney.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Mooney, we're getting close. You better kill the siren.
Okay, Marlowe.
Now, Phil, how do you know all this? I mean, the switch, you know, what makes it so?
That piece of metal I burned my fingers on, Matthews, it was a tap from a shoe. And Bert Larson wore taps. The rest of it adds from there.
Yeah, including Carney at the airport now as Larson.
Sure. Who'd be looking for a beat-up second-rate bookie who decided to leave town?
Aside from a nephew, that is.
Yeah, aside from a nephew who tried every place but the airport. Uncle Bert couldn't stand planes. The brakes, Matthews. Oh, here we are.
Yeah, just you and me and Mooney and the killer. Aren't you coming, Phil?
No, I think I'll wait here, Matthews. I got some thinking to do.
About the scum you sometimes meet in the night?
No. About the kind of a kid I almost never meet in the night. See it.
Yeah. All right, come on, Mooney. Maybe our boy will make a break for it, I hope.
Mr. Connie didn't make a break for it, and an hour later when they picked up Carole King, it was the same thing. Each of them was surly, ugly, but they talked. So when I finally left police headquarters, where try as he would for Tommy's sake, Matthews had found it impossible to skip over Bert Larson's connection as a blackmailer. It was pushing midnight, and I was dog-tired. There was something worse than that when I was back on the corner near my office, walking toward Tommy Larson, who was untying a stack of fresh newspapers. Then the headline.
Read all about it. Hollywood killer nabbed. Blackmailing bookie. Jealous wife slain.
Hiya, kid.
Hiya, Mr. Marlowe. Lieutenant Matthews tells me you had kind of a rough night.
Kinda? When'd you talk to him, Tommy?
After the first editions hit the street, I wanted to know if you were okay. The story didn't say. Publicity no good for your business, huh?
Not much. Look, kid, did the lieutenant say anything about you? I mean...
I'm gonna stay with a neighbor, friend of Uncle Bert's. He had friends, you know. He wasn't really bad at heart, Mr. Marlowe. Not really. I believe that.
So do I, Tommy. He was just mixed up.
Yeah. Sure he was. And you know why? The way he thought the world owed him a living, that's why. And I couldn't tell him otherwise. Excuse me, Mr. Marlowe. I gotta get going. Thanks a lot. You were swell.
Sure.
Extra. Bookie and Babe slain in Hollywood Triangle. 2 dead in Hollywood slaying. Extra.
There's nothing more pathetic than a kid. The first time he's really slapped down by life. We, the older ones, the tired ones, learn to roll with a punch. Because we've got time in our corner, watching us, counseling us, teaching us how to save ourselves, so that the final gong, we're still on our feet. But a kid steps into life's arena expecting to find his opponents all he was taught to believe they would be. But instead he finds the old 1-2 below the belt. But if here he finds a good guy, and there a great girl, the going suddenly becomes not so rough. The fight becomes worth it, if only to help the next generation of Tommies find their ring a little cleaner, and the breaks not quite so tough.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, bringing you Raymond Chandler's most famous character, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Robert Mitchell and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Gil Stratton Jr., Virginia Gregg, Wilms Herbert, Joan Banks, and Vivi Janis. Detective Lieutenant Matthews is played by Larry Dobkin. The special music is composed and conducted by Richard Orant. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
It started with laughter on a bright morning, in a battle over a chicken, and got better as it went along. It could have lasted a lifetime, but it didn't. It stopped on a gray morning, with a little wishbone broken.
Stay tuned now for Gangbusters, which follows immediately on most of these same CBS stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's it for this week. I'm Dennis Daly. Thanks for listening. And join me for more, saluting the adventures of Philip Marlowe.